Hey guys, welcome back to Gloves Off. My name is David Rice. I'm the chief editor of DentistryIQ with, as always,
Katrina Sanders, the dental hygienist.
I love it. So Katrina, we have a fun topic today because I have a feeling it's going to be some polarization going on here with juggling a double column of hygiene, working with an assistant.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is a topic we could talk about all day.
Yeah.
This is a timely conversation because I do feel as though we're going to start to see more of the double column model in this age where dental hygienists, it seems to be there's a shortage of hygienists and an abundance of work. And so I think this is definitely a timely conversation. A lot of doctors are wanting to explore this model, and I understand why. I will say dental hygienists are very polarized, to your point. Some hygienists really do love the model. They like being busy. They like this concept of, having somebody else working alongside them. A lot of dental hygienists love doing kind of only the very hygiene specific things that we can do and should be doing versus, doing every step of the hygiene appointment. So some hygienists would rather show up, probe, scale the patient, educate them on a few brief things and walk out. Some hygienists want to be there the entire step of the way through the entire process of care with the patient. And some hygienists even want to wipe down the rooms, et cetera. So first and foremost, if you are a hygienist out there and you are in a double column model and you're a hygienist that you don't want to work in a double column model, I encourage you to think about that and to think about perhaps other employment opportunities. If you're a dental hygienist who's in a double column model and it just isn't working, the one piece that I do want to share is that oftentimes what happens in a double column situation is it's a front office team member who's identifying how the template works. And then the doctor just throws an assistant at you and it's like, okay, go. And I'll tell you something, David, this may shock you about, basically the all of me, but I'm a theater kid. I grew up in the theater. Yeah. You wouldn't ever take a bunch of actors and say, okay, rent opens tomorrow night, go. I mean, you have to figure out your choreograph. You got to get into the rhythm of it. So when you talk about true double column hygiene, I want to be very clear. This should be an opportunity for the hygienist to get involved. Hygienists, you should be talking about the logistics of, okay, so if the assistant goes in and takes the x-rays initially, then I can be over here doing this. And by the time the assistant is done taking the x-rays, taking the blood pressure, reviewing the health, doing all of these things, then I can slide in. But you've got to be involved in what that choreograph dance looks like. The front office team, respectfully, just isn't walking through those steps the way you are. Yeah. So that's step number one. You need to train your assistant. Communicate with them, just like the doctors need to communicate with us hygienists about, hey, when I come in for an exam, I'd love for you to have the shepherd's hook and the mirror and a 2x2 gauze with, we need to also communicate to our assistants what we need. And I think that's a model that a lot of hygienists are not used to. Yeah. So now I need to train the assistant. So it's simple things. And I want to be very clear, assistants out there, we're not trying to be drama queens or prima donnas by explaining this to you. We're doing it because we want this to be an easy choreographed dance. It's a heck of a lot easier if everybody's on the same page and we work together. I work with an assistant in my clinical practice and he's amazing. I stick my hand out and he puts the sensor in my hand. Like it is that choreographed. There is no room for error because we move that, quickly and in sync. But that didn't happen on the first day I met him. We had to work together. And by that, I mean, I had to explain to him, this is the type of x-ray mount that I'm going to use. And even other, little things like after we would work on a patient together, I would say, what can I do to make your job easier? And so then my assistant, Derek, would say, it'd be really great if you could read out these assessments so that I can load them into the computer when I'm on the same screen as this. Great. Thank you for letting me know that, because then I can be a better advocate for you. So those pieces are really important. Yeah. One final thing that I will say, just kind of early on in the process of looking at a double column hygiene is, hygienists, think about your assistant. I find that my assistants really love being a part of the process. So for example, yesterday I was working with a new assistant, and this poor assistant's like, oh my gosh, because it's Katrina Sanders, right? So she's like, she's all over the place. And I said, okay, and Mallampati classification 4. And she had never heard that term before. And she's like, what about, and I'm with the patient. So what I just said, just write M4 and we'll chat about it later. And then in between patients, she said, what is this Mallampati thing? And I said, let me show you. And I pulled up a screen with the different classifications. And I said, this is a classification system that helps me identify the patient's airway. And so I kind of walked her through it. The reason why is because she's a new assistant now, but down the road, I want her to start thinking, okay, so if this patient has an advanced Mallampati classification, we might want to get that referral for that sleep study clinic that we work with, so that we're already kind of moving in tandem, and I can help empower my assistant to think through what steps this patient is going to need that don't necessarily need to involve me. That assistant can be filling out that referral form, while I'm still communicating with the patient. So I want to bring my assistant into the process as well, so that they understand the why of all of that.
Oh, that's so good. I mean, I always, our practice, like culturally, it's engage, educate, empower, and then get out of the way. And, Christy and I have worked together for a long, long time. And I love how you empower Derek and kind of float it back with, in the beginning, here's what we need to do. Here's why we need to do it. And then now it's to this seamless dance and rhythm that's easy. That's Christy and I are the same way. She sees things I don't even see, or she's thought of them 10 steps before I've ever thought of them. So I love that connection that can be formed when we're all open to educating each other, and that why is so important. The what doesn't get us all the way home. That's right. What makes this happen at some point, right? Like you said, the queen bee and the drama.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess my question to you then is, now we have to add doctors into this double column situation. And I think one of the challenges with a double column situation is that oftentimes if the hygienist is seeing things, those are getting written down on, the little like side Post-it. That's cheers for Post-its, by the way, that have been like the inner office communication for forever, but it gets written down. Doctor comes in. So now we have to change that dialogue, because now the hygienist is probably next door scaling another patient entirely. Doctor's in here probably with the assistant, right? So now we have to reorient or rethink through what that handoff looks like with the doctor. As a doctor, have you worked in a double column situation? And what are some of the easier strategies to help doctors move through this? Because now you're seeing twice the number of patients, right?
Sure.
And so what are some steps that you found have been successful?
So a couple biggies for us, and I'm going to pull us back to magic minutes for a second. So for those of you who didn't catch it. It's good. But, in that episode, we talked all about spending time to educate our patients so they get the right treatment. So in our situation, our double columns aren't insanely impactful to all of us because we're treating a significant number of patients periodontically. So I'm not in the 2 rooms all day, every day, because some patients are on 3-month or 4-month recare. Some months are here for quad scaling, root planning. So that's big, number one. And number two, you mentioned it is the handoff. And, we have this great little thing. If you guys remember like junior high school and you walk down the hallway and you're talking to one of your friends and you hear your name shouted out over here, and all of a sudden your head whips around. You're like, whoa, why are they talking about me?
Yeah.
Our handoff is very much 2 team members, hygienist assistant, assistant dentist, hygienist dentist, speaking over the top of a patient about the patient.
Yeah.
So we're talking out loud constantly. So we're always very well prepared for each other. And I think that combination of handoff communication / let's not treat 400 prophies in a day, because that's not what walking in our practice anyway, really has made a big difference for us.
I love that you said that, because I think when we start to move into this model, and I think a lot of practices, when they start considering moving into the double column model, I think that's the concern is, so now we're just going to smush a bunch of prophies in there. And
Right.
the idea being, if the reason why you're going to a double column situation is to continue to diminish your standard of excellence, instead of elevate it by letting your dental hygienist, your mid-level provider, do the things that a dental hygienist, we can wipe down a room, but why? Why would you pay a hygienist to wipe down a room when we can be providing optimal care elsewhere and have an assistant do that, right? So I love that. But hygienists, to your point, don't want to step into that model where we're just expected to be a pro female. We want to be able to continue to do high level care. And I think being able to calibrate and infuse the practice philosophy into that model is the important key component that is oftentimes missed.
I love that. And no, you mentioned something that's so very important. And I think it may have passed by a few of you who are listening is dental assistants. If you've been doing this for 10 years, this may not be you. Like our job, every time I walk out of my practice into any business whatsoever, I'm constantly searching for the next great talent who might have zero dental experience, but that's the perfect person for us to onboard into our practice.
Yes.
And they become this person who breaks down rooms, sets up rooms, and then over time they get our excitement is contagious to them. So all of a sudden that person wants to say, how do I become a great dental assistant? How to become a great dental hygienist? How do I go to dental school one day? And it's this machine, which FYI for everybody who's having like team trouble, like it's a really great way to overcome the team trouble.
Yes.
Culturally, nobody wants to leave when everybody's involved in building something bigger and better for patients. I love it. So final words, my friend. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to echo off of you from Good to Great. I don't know if you've read that book, but Good to Great, it's the flywheel. It's everything moving in momentum. It is that collaborative team effort that is going to continue to move dentistry forward. So excellence is a 360 experience in dentistry. Rock
that is
it, everybody.
True story spoken. All right, gang, listen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned.